Unfair targets or professional restraint. Two different stories on what happened following Donald Trump's stop in San Diego. The gear that may have prompted a tougher response from police. A tradition illuminated along the streets of Chula Vista, the agencies who provided an elite escort for the Special Olympics torch. This is Evening Edition on KPBS. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Racial justice and the California primary. There is a San Diego group who is trying to paint a fuller picture of where candidates stand on race issues. As KPBS reporter Megan Burks reports, less than half of those on the ballot responded to the survey.
The survey asked the candidates how they'll improve the quality of life in communities of color, whether they support the Black Lives Matter movement, and whether San Diego should welcome Syrian refugees. Aaron Belfer heads the group that put out the survey. Showing Up for Racial Justice is a group of white activists trying to deepen the conversation about race in their community.
Unless our candidates are thinking about these issues and having real discussions, then they can't even begin to address the needs of the communities of color that are being served.
Belfer says the candidates got plenty of reminders during the month they had to complete the survey. Showing Up for Racial Justice does not endorse candidates. Megan Burks, KPBS News.
We have a link to the survey results online at kpbs.org. A new statewide survey among 1,700 California residents is showing Hillary Clinton has a commanding 13-point lead over Senator Bernie Sanders. The new Hoover Institution Golden State poll was released today and shows a considerable difference than the slim 2% margin published last week by the Public Policy Institute of California. The polls show Hillary at 51% and Sanders is at 38%. The new poll does show Sanders has a 2-to-1 lead over millennial voters and a 40-point lead among nonpartisan voters. Governor Jerry Brown has officially endorsed Hillary Clinton for president. In an open letter shared on Twitter today, Brown says he believes this is the only path to win the presidency and stop the dangerous candidacy of Donald Trump. He also commented on how deeply impressed he is at how well Bernie Sanders has done in the race, quote, driving the message that the top 1% has unfairly captured way too much of America's wealth. Democratic presidential candidate Bernie Sanders vows to take on drug and insurance companies. The candidate criticized the current U.S. healthcare system at a press conference here in California today.
Embarrassingly, the United States today is the only major country on earth, the only one, that does not guarantee health care to all people as a right. That's right. You go to Europe, you go to Scandinavia. I live 50 miles away from Canada. Health care is a right for all people.
Sanders is attending multiple events in California ahead of the state's presidential primary next Tuesday. Immigrant rights groups say San Diego police overreacted after the Donald Trump rally and protests. They say authorities unfairly targeted Barrio Logan with what they called a paramilitary-style presence. City leaders disagree. KPBS Fronteras reporter Jean Guerrero takes a look at both sides.
35 people were arrested after Donald Trump spoke at the San Diego Convention Center as protesters clashed with police. Thousands of Trump's opponents and supporters had gathered outside, some engaging in heated verbal confrontations and throwing objects.
Trump supporters can go. You don't like the law of the land? Go to Mexico.
Immigrant rights activists and other community leaders say minorities were unfairly targeted by police after the rally ended. They say about 1,000 peaceful, mostly Latino protesters, including children and the elderly, were pushed back into Barrio Logan by police in riot gear and squad cars.
Militarized police do not belong in America's finest city. This is an image that should not be in San Diego.
Mayor Kevin Faulkner says he was proud of the way police handled the protests outside the rally.
I think our officers did a great job of de-escalating the situation. And I think, the proof of that is you've seen what's happened in other cities across the country.
The San Diego Police Department put out a similar statement, saying their officers behaved with professionalism and restraint. But activists disagree.
That the police dressed up in militarized gear, paratrooper gear, and felt the need to use what they wore.
He says he thinks Trump's rhetoric about minorities is deepening divisions between communities like Barrio Logan and the San Diego police.
We're going to build a wall. Latinos for Trump, I love you.
And canceling the neighborhood's positive steps toward equality. Jean Guerrero, KPBS News.
Donald Trump lawyers responded to judge's order today. They released hundreds of pages connected to a class action lawsuit against Trump University. KPBS reporter Steve Walsh says the documents show how instructors treated students.
The documents show how students of Trump University were pressured into buying expensive courses. Students were paired with mentors who were actually salespeople. Mentors were told to ask students for their credit card balances and other information. That information would become the guide for which courses to sell them. According to the 2009 sales playbook, mentors were told if they can afford Gold Elite, don't let them think about anything besides Gold Elite. And if they hesitate, tell them it's time to fix your broken plan. Bring in Mr. Trump's top instructors and certified millionaire mentors and allow us to put you and keep you on the right path. The students say that in the lawsuit that they paid as much as $35,000, but they did not learn the secrets of the billionaire real estate developer. Friday, Judge Gonzalo Curiel denied a request by Trump's attorneys to keep the files secret. Tuesday, 386 pages, including sales and operations handbooks, became part of the public record. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
The GOP party in California hasn't won a statewide election since 2006. KQED political editor Scott Schaefer takes a look at how the Republican presidential hopeful may affect the party's efforts to broaden its appeal here.
A California Republican convention usually gets little, if any, media coverage. But when the party faithful gathered in Burlingame recently, it got the attention of hordes of journalists and hundreds of protesters.
This country is about diversity. It's about racial justice. It is not about white supremacy, and it is not about hating Muslims.
Hey, hey, ho, ho! White supremacy, let's go!
Rabia Keeble and most of the demonstrators are here to protest Donald Trump's message.
Shut Trump down!
He's the keynote speaker at today's lunch.
This is my Donald Trump piñata. When people ask me what's inside it, I say it's empty.
State party conventions are meant to rally its most active members and set the tone for upcoming elections.
What do you mean?
But the GOP has been struggling to line up behind its apparent nominee.
So here's the Washington Post today. The time has come to admit that Republican voters want Donald Trump as their nominee. You see that?
But not everyone agrees. After protesters forced him to take a detour around cement barriers and through the mud to get inside, Trump joked about illegal immigration.
That was not the easiest entrance I've ever made. My wife called. She said, there are helicopters following you, and we did, and then we went under a fence and through a fence, and oh, boy, I felt like I was crossing the border, actually. You know, it's true.
The New York businessman has knocked out over a dozen other presidential contenders, defying the rules of politics along the way.
Folks, I'm a conservative, but at this point, who cares? We got to straighten out the country.
That kind of ideological flexibility troubles some conservatives, including party activist John Fleischman. He worries Trump isn't really conservative and will say anything to win.
It's why he keeps changing positions. I misspoke. I did this. I did that. Well, you know, it's me. I'm Donald Trump. I make big deals. Well, you know what? The presidency isn't about making big deals. It's about standing strong and making sure that our Constitution is respected and our republic endures.
Trump wasn't the first choice of the party elite and mainstream members, but he's striking a chord with many rank-and-file voters.
Well, I'm a woman, and I support him. I think that his rhetoric will change once he gets through the national nomination.
Bobby McGinnis, a Republican delegate from Santa Barbara, says Trump will rebuild America.
Yes, he has not been perfect about everything he's had to say, but I feel that women in the end want someone who's going to give security and bring back America and bring jobs back.
The Republicans who showed up for this convention are already enthused about the GOP and the June primary. The challenge for Republicans is spreading that enthusiasm to voters who've been turned off by policies that the Republican Party has espoused over the last few years. That includes women, Latinos, Asians, and immigrants generally.
Today, just 28% of California voters call themselves Republican, compared with 44% who say they're Democrats. Few expect Trump to carry California in November, but party strategists like Rob Stutzman worry what effect he'll have on races down the ballot.
About 20% of Republicans say they're not going to vote for him, okay? Well, that means we're worried about them voting at all. So when we think about competitive state assembly seats, state senate seats, and congressional seats, if we don't have a candidate that is fully turning out the Republican base and energize them to go vote for him, we're very concerned we lose these seats.
The California GOP has seen its numbers slowly dwindle for 2 decades. Many say it started with Proposition 187. The 1994 ballot measure took aim at immigrants who came to the state illegally.
They keep coming. 2 million illegal immigrants in California.
Ads like this one alienated the Latino community.
Condense it.
Mike Madrid is a consultant to the party.
I was hired in the aftermath of Prop 187 in 1996 as a Latino Republican expert to kind of help the party rebuild.
I will build a great, great wall.
Today, Trump's statements about immigrants are stirring up old ghosts.
Mark my words.
In many ways, it's a little heartbreaking to look back 20 years later and come to the same convention where the same issues really have not only not resolved themselves, but in many ways gotten worse.
He has enormous potential.
Republican Delegate Jaime Patino from the East Bay town of Union City would agree.
I know Trump means well. I think he has some great ideas. He just doesn't express them very well. And there are times I do cringe when I hear him speak.
In particular, Patino cringes at Trump's description of Mexican immigrants as rapists and murderers.
It looks like Trump will become the nominee. If he is, I'll back him, but I'm going to have to do some soul searching, to be honest with you.
Trump may also be a tough sell for millennial voters, says Matthew Del Carlo, head of the California Young Republican Federation. He says the state GOP hasn't done a good job of attracting voters under 40.
There is kind of a branding issue. If you look at millennials, over 60% of them believe that there should be marriage equality. A large portion of younger GOP millennials also are in favor of legalizing marijuana. The positions also on global warming and other environmental effects, that generation is much more in touch with that and differs from the mainstream sentiments of the party right now.
Party leaders are mostly resigned to Trump heading the ticket in November, but many Republicans aren't happy with this unexpected turn of events.
I don't think I could vote for Donald Trump in the general. I certainly will not vote for Hillary Clinton, but I won't vote for a Democrat.
Well, thank you all for being here.
While some Republicans aren't sold on Trump, State Republican Party Chair Jim Brulte believes the Democratic nominee will unify them.
When this primary is over, I assure you the Republican Party will come together, because there's no one in this room, and there are very few Republicans in California who want Hillary Clinton to have Barack Obama's third term as president.
We're going to take back our jobs from China and Japan.
Still, GOP leaders acknowledge they need to proactively rebuild the party's strength to once again be competitive in statewide elections.
Remember, June 7th. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
That story from Scott Schaefer of KQED, and you can find more election coverage online at kpbs.org/election. KPBS is looking into some of the political flyers that are clogging voters' mailboxes this election season. Metro reporter Andrew Bowen digs into mailers sent by the firefighters union that raise some questions.
2 months ago, San Diego firefighters endorsed Democrat Barbara Bree in City Council District 1. The district includes La Jolla, University City, and Carmel Valley. But apparently, the firefighters union wasn't finished spreading the love. The union recently sent out mailers praising both Bree and one of her opponents, Bruce Leitner. He's the husband of termed-out incumbent Sherry Leitner. Leitner said he had not asked the union for its support.
I was both surprised and pleased. Certainly when you read it, they have very nice things to say about my wife and myself. So how can one complain?
Unlike his wife, Bruce Leitner is a Republican, and the mailer calls him the Republican choice for city council. But the county's Republican leadership doesn't support him. In fact, they've sent out their own mailers attacking both Bruce and Sherry Leitner. The Republican endorsed candidate in District 1 is Ray Ellis. He's been running a strong campaign, and Ellis says the firefighters' mailers are designed to indirectly support Democrat Barbara Bree by stealing Republican votes that would otherwise go to him.
I think it's pretty obvious that they would like to use that type of communication to dilute my side of the ledger and my votes. Obviously, they've formally endorsed Ms. Bree, so we know where their intentions are.
The firefighters union did not respond to an interview request. As an independent committee, it's legally barred from coordinating with candidate campaigns. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
And you can show us your mailers by tweeting a picture to KPBS News, or you can post them on our Facebook page or email us at kpbsmailers@kpbs.org. The Coronado Bridge is one big check closer to getting a major facelift. Intercontinental Hotels is set to donate $100,000 to the San Diego Coronado Bridge Lighting Fund. The company will make the announcement tomorrow morning at a groundbreaking for its new waterfront hotel. The bridge lighting project kicked off back in 2006, but was set aside due to the recession. The Port of San Diego hopes to raise $1 million by the end of the year for the installation's design phase. Mayor Kevin Faulconer reached a tentative deal with San Diego's firefighters union on a new 4-year contract. Firefighters would get more tuition reimbursement and paid parental leave, as well as the first pay raise in 10 years. That raise won't come until July 2018 in compliance with the city's voter-approved pension reform Proposition B. The contract will go before the City Council for final approval in a few weeks. A dozen Metropolitan Transit System bus routes in San Diego are being interrupted for a 6th straight day as striking drivers continue to walk the picket lines. A San Diego City Councilman boosted their cause today by rallying along with them.
You deserve a fair contract.
San Diego City Councilman David Alvarez put on a union T-shirt, held up a strike sign, and joined 300 drivers, mechanics, and others on the picket line to demand higher wages and health benefits.
And I think it's time that all leaders in San Diego, like myself, stand up and deliver the same message that we need to get this resolved. We need to get these workers back out there.
Alvarez is also an MTS board member. The unionized workers began striking last Wednesday after contract negotiations stalled with their employer First Transit, which contracts with MTS. A First Transit spokesman says the union workers have rejected a strong offer and there are no new negotiations scheduled at this time. Gun rights advocates rallied at the state capitol to prevent tighter control of firearms. Sacramento lawmakers are looking at a series of bills aimed at strengthening the state's gun laws. But gun rights groups say the government is going too far with the proposed laws. Friday marks the deadline for all bills to move on to the state legislature in order to be passed or vetoed this session. Following up on the mass shooting in San Bernardino, it has been a journey on the other side of crisis for one counselor who has a painful connection to the attack. Associated Press reporter Christine Armario shares the lessons learned from her grief.
As part of the Los Angeles mayor's crisis response team, Mandy Pfeiffer has counseled dozens of people who have lost loved ones to gun violence and suicide. But on December 2nd, 2015, she found herself on the other side of crisis.
I knew he was at that party. I knew that was him. And I knew if I wasn't hearing from him that he was probably dead.
Pfeiffer's boyfriend, Shannon Johnson, an inspector with the Department of Environmental Health, was killed in the San Bernardino shootings. Her training told her what to expect, but she quickly found herself overwhelmed with grief.
I'll get crushed from behind by a huge wave of sadness at any moment and let it go and just kind of be aware that that's going to happen.
Pfeiffer and Johnson met online in October 2012. 6 months later, she moved into his apartment building.
We were best friends, and we were a good team.
Last week, Mandy took the first steps back into her old life on the other side of the yellow tape. Her crisis team colleagues were there for her.
Just letting Mandy know that she has support, she has a family.
and to give herself time.
While she's still navigating her own loss, Pfeiffer says losing Johnson has given her a different insight into grief.
It's definitely taught me that the moments we're there helping someone with a crisis response are just a fraction of, it's just the fraction of the support they're going to need. I understand now that sometimes that's the easiest time during a trauma.
The hardest part, Pfeiffer has learned, is getting back to life. Christina Armario, The Associated Press.
Mandy says she wants to apply the lessons she's learned about trauma and grief when aiding others. She also wants to start a foundation in her boyfriend's memory. There's a new one-stop shop with a host of county services for people in the South Bay. KPBS health reporter Kenny Goldberg says the county's Livewell Center in National City is open for business.
This 84,000 square foot facility has numerous county services all under one roof. 2, 1. There's a family resource center where people can apply for Medi-Cal or other health insurance programs and apply for food assistance. The facility also houses an Office of Child Support Services, Aging and Independence Services, and a Military and Veterans Resource Center. San Diego County Supervisor Greg Cox says having all of these resources in one place in the South Bay is a big plus.
Right off the trolley line, in a great location both for freeways and for mass transit, so it should make it a lot more convenient.
The center has a spacious seating area with easy access to the reception windows and rooms. There are even books and toys for the kids. Barbara Jimenez is a director of regional operations for the county's Health and Human Services Agency. Jimenez says this facility fits into the county's overall strategy of creating healthy environments for local residents and employees.
Within the facility, we have wonderful lactation rooms for our moms that are coming back. We have ergonomic equipment for our employees. The overall feel of the facility is just modern, it's just light, and it just brings around that health, safe, and thriving component.
County officials expect more than 30,000 South Bay residents will use this facility over the next year. Kenny Goldberg, KPBS News.
I'm John Yang. On the next news hour, facing a drop in enrollment, schools in Vermont are forced to merge to survive. That's Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
A warming trend is on the way for the weekend in San Diego. Steph Davis says some areas expect triple-digit numbers. That's tonight on the KPBS Weather Report.
Quiet conditions once again across much of the west this Tuesday. We're seeing those low clouds building in on our marine layer, but those will actually start to dissipate over the next couple of days as well. So we'll see earlier peaks of sunshine, and that'll allow temperatures to climb as well. Now, we do have high pressure in control, so we're looking at a dry forecast. Current satellite and radar showing dry weather from Borrego Springs all the way towards San Diego, and that's the way we will remain as we head into tonight. Temperatures in Borrego Springs mild tonight as we fall to an overnight low near 70 degrees, enjoying mainly clear skies there. A couple of clouds building into Mount Laguna as your temperature falls near 50 degrees, mid-50s in Ramona and Alpine with a couple of patchy clouds. Low clouds forming in Oceanside. Your low is 61, 63 with low clouds tonight in San Diego itself. As we look ahead to the midweek on Wednesday, looking at another dry and quiet weather pattern with our high pressure ridge continuing to strengthen. Now, what we do need to watch for is down at the beaches. The National Weather Service has issued a beach hazards statement for Wednesday all the way through Thursday, as we do run a higher risk for rough surf and strong rip currents. So if you're heading to the beach for the midweek, definitely want to exercise caution. Though if you're sticking around on land, things looking good, dry with sunshine out there, though we'll see heat continue to build as we lose that low cloud marine layer. Looking at your 5-day outlook for the coast, partly cloudy Wednesday, high 71, partly sunny and mild Thursday, high 74. And again, we do have that beach hazard statement in effect Wednesday and Thursday. For Friday, partial sunshine as highs climb to the upper 70s. Same deal on Saturday. Nice with some sun for your Sunday at the coast. Taking a look at your 5-day outlook for inland, we're showing similar conditions here. Partly cloudy Wednesday, high 73, partly sunny and nice Thursday and Friday as as temperatures climb to the low 80s, remaining in the low 80s to kick off the weekend Saturday with partly sunny skies, a mix of clouds and sun Sunday. Your high temperature inland is 78 degrees. 5-day outlook across the mountains showing temperatures really climbing. A mostly dry forecast Wednesday through Saturday. We'll start things off Wednesday at 80 degrees, breaking near 90 by Saturday. And then we do have the risk for a shower in spots for your Sunday. Wrapping things up with your 5-day outlook across the desert. Sure is going to get hot out there. Definitely want to exercise caution. We're talking a full week of triple-digit daytime highs. The hottest of the two will be Friday and into your Saturday. Steph Davis, KPBS News.
The Flame of Hope has begun its journey through San Diego. Hundreds of local law enforcement officers joined the Special Olympics Torch Run. The ceremonial lighting took place in Chula Vista today. Officers and the torch will make their way to Los Angeles. That's where the Special Olympics kick off this summer. The annual run helps raise awareness and collect funds for the Special Olympics. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. From all of us here at KPBS, thanks for watching and have a great evening.